right.
Yeah, revolutionary greetings, comrades. You are most welcome to our class. This is Consciousness Study Group. We do our studies every Thursday, where we study the philosophy and ideology of Kwame Nkrumah, which is Conceptualism, which is a philosophy and ideology for decolonizing Africa with key three main objectives, which is actually total liberation of Africa, total unification of Africa, and total development of Africa. We have been dealing with chapter 1 of Consciousness Study Group, which is philosophy in retrospect. We're going back to the philosophical dealings or philosophical contents. We are starting with the universe. How did the universe come to be? What is the raw materials of the universe? How is the universe existing? And how we actually relate to that existence. Because we realize that there's a clear connection on how we think the universe is to what and or how we act as a people. Some think that there's a universe, there are two universes. There's a universe outside this universe. Some think that this is the only universe. There's no universe outside this universe. And therefore, these are part of the issues you've been looking at. Then we go back to check on the two main philosophical questions. What there is and how what there is. What is the universe made of? And how that which the universe is made of come to be. And this has led us to two main ideologies. One is the people who believe that the universe is made up of matter. They are called materialists. The second category are the people who believe that the universe is made up of spirits and ideas. And they end up being the idealists. And these two main perceptions will always affect how somebody reason, act, or even put the struggles for Africa. So to us, it's connected to the African context. Is our problem that as Africans face are caused by ideas and spirits, or the struggles Africa is going through is materialist struggle, the struggle for properties and everything within the African context. And this will also show us later, as we've covered, how religion come to play, where people either think that the only struggle we must have is the spiritual nourishment, while others think that the biggest struggle we should have is the struggle to actually repossess our material being, which is either our resources, our land, our minerals, and everything else. And this is a clear perceptions or ideologies that have been explained by Nkrumah before, as we've covered it. And at this particular moment, we have done the idealism thinking, where we have actually come to conclusion that idealism is more of serious solipsism, individualistic. And people who happen to be idealists are either so conservative or liberals that they don't believe that the struggles that other people go through really exist. To them, they are just sort of imaginations or what is called perceptions or perceptions. They are no reality. And also, to the extent that we are seeing that Africans who happen to be idealists tend not to put much struggles to the problems or the struggles for our material well-being or our material perception. And that's why we are coming up to the materialist position, which we started discussing some times back. And as you can see in my screen, we are not far away from the start of materialism position. We started by the paragraph there that say that materialism keep into context some serious issues. It discusses more of self-consciousness and consciousness. It discusses more of about perceptions and perceptions. We go deeper to discuss about energy and matter, qualities and quantity. And therefore today, our class will be based from the last paragraph in the screen, we talks of the philosophy can demonstrate the possibility of conversion. That's why I want to continue the class. You're all welcome. And those who will be watching this, feel free actually to share your comments on our YouTube channel. And feel free also to attend our classes. So without wasting my time, because you're a bit late, I will actually request, as per our tradition, that one of us might actually, who is willing, to read for us the paragraph from the word, one might unwittingly think that the assertion of the soul or even primary reality of matter, that's where I want to start, is a recap of our last paragraph, then we connect to this current paragraph, and then we do our discussions. So, comrades, you're most welcome, and let's go straight to the reading. Who is ready to read for us? Let me check.
I'm ready and willing to. I don't mind reading.
Brother DJ Mr. P. Can you read for us the paragraph start with one might and connect to the second paragraph that?
Yep, I will. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. One might unwearily think that the assertion of the soul or even primary reality of matter in the face of the above hard facts betrays an unwarranted intrepidity in face of paradox and categorical absurdity. The key to the solution of the problem, the key to the accommodation of these hard facts lies in the categorial convertibility, but it is not the task of philosophy to trace the details of such categorial conversation. That is one of the tasks of science. Philosophy is only called upon to show the possibility of the conversion. By categorial conversion, I mean such a thing as the emergence of self-consciousness from that which is not self-conscious, such a thing as the emergence of mind from matter, of quality from quantity. Philosophy can demonstrate the possibility of a conversion in one or other of two ways, either by means of a conceptual analysis or by pointing at a model. As it happens, philosophy is in a position to do both. Philosophy prepares itself for the accommodation of the hard fact by asserting not the crude soul reality of matter, but its primary reality. Other categories must then be shown to be able to arise from matter through process. It is at this point that philosophical materialism becomes dialectical.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome, brother. Sorry about that word. Earlier on, your mouse was actually covering the word, and I wasn't sure what it was at first, and I was struggling to pronounce it.
Okay, sorry for that.
That's all right, brother. That's all right. I thought it was my screen, but then I just realized that you're sharing because I'm on the phone.
Allow me to reduce it a bit so that we can check the. So we had done the other first part of the paragraph, right? Now we are connecting to this paragraph. So as we do it, you're always free to share your thinking. Let's start by understanding what's going on.
Yeah, your voice has gone down again, brother. I don't know what you changed, but you can't hear you that well.
But you can hear me now?
That's better.
Yeah, let's go back and try to analyze these words that are coming up. And as we do this, we always share our thinking. So you're free to actually, either as you share what you understand, you're free to read statement by statement or sentence by sentence and try to make some understanding out of it. So who is ready to start us off? iPhone, who is joining with the iPhone, please? There's somebody who has joined us with the iPhone.
And their microphone is off. No, sorry, their microphone's on, rather.
Kindly let us know.
Oh, they've muted.
Okay, I've muted the person.
Oh, okay.
Until maybe they are able to introduce themselves.
Yeah.
Spala, kindly welcome. DJ Mr. P, I'll ask you to try to analyze the sentence you've read and see what you bring out of it. And then we move to Mauli, then Marlin, then Walker, and then I'll also share my Marlin Walker, and then I'll share my also thinking. Try to break it down by your understanding.
Okay. Okay. One might unreally think that the assertion of the soul, or even the primary reality of matter, in the face of the above hard facts, betrays an unwarranted intrepidity in face of paradox and categorial absurdity. Wow, that's a big sentence, you know. Yeah, that is a big sentence, that first sentence.
Shall we come back to you?
Yeah, please do.
I can hear that.
Yeah, please do. It's a big sentence, man. I'm just trying to break it down myself.
Mr. Martin?
Well, I would go to the second paragraph where it says philosophy can demonstrate the possibility of conversion in one or other of two ways, either by means of conceptual analysis or by pointing at models. So I suppose if we use the philosophy of life, we can use it in two ways. In analyzing how we structure things. Am I on the right track, Pigbin? Has he gone?
Oh, he's
You're
still
free
there.
to share your thinking. There's no right or wrong thinking.
There's no right or wrong thinking.
Yeah.
It's your personal thinking.
It's how you see it. What do you see?
Yeah. And then there's this other part, philosophy prepare itself for the accommodation of the hard fact by asserting not the, what's that? Crude soul reality.
Crude soul reality, yeah, of matter.
Of the matter. But its primary reality of the Katamas then show to be able to raise from matter. So we use matter to process things. Help us, Pigbin. I'm a bit lost.
This is a heavy passage. This is heavy.
Yeah. This point now.
Yes. What happens is clearly from the first paragraph, as to my understanding, my thinking, Nkrumah is introducing us to two ways of thinking, or two ways on how to put the philosophy into context.
Right.
Because as remember before, Nkrumah says that everybody is free to make their own thinkings or their own analysis, but at the end of the day, there must be a convergence in terms of the endpoints of your thinking. And here, in this paragraph, I'm seeing that philosophy approached this puzzle with the two arms. One is the conceptual analysis, and another part would be either the concrete model. So analysis, as we've also come across it, which can either put into place the empiricism, the experience. We can be able to analyze situations, conditions, or the context where we are, either as Africa or as a people, based on the experiences, which takes much of the other part of empiricism. But we can also use some part of rationalism or the concrete model. We can check, for example, how a concept has been put into existence. And you see, beyond abstract analysis, philosophy seeks tangible models from the real world. Hence, science comes to the rescue. If you go to the model of it, so there's another part of the interconvertibility of matter and energy that we've been discussing up here. Because you see, we came across the aspect of matter and energy. How do they converge? Which serves as a powerful example of how distinct categories can interact and transform into one another. Similarly, there was a distinction between physical and chemical changes and how physical quantities can give rise to emergent or qualitative different properties. That's part of what we've been discussing up, and that's what I'm trying to understand. Anybody can try also to share their thinking in regards to that.
We haven't got Kwame with us today to clarify anything. So as you said, there's no right or wrong of thinking, but philosophy can determine the possibility of conversion in one another. So I suppose it's the philosophy we have that determine our thinking in each other. That's what I make up a part of it. And it says something about the matter there as well somewhere. One might wearily think that assertion and the soul, or even primarily reality of matter in the fact of the above hard facts betrayed unwary.
Yeah, Sister Malin.
Yeah.
As you try to still make up the same, we'll still come back again to you, but at least you've shared what you are thinking. But in this paragraph, I'm seeing there are models of analysis that are being introduced here. And probably you might be coming across such models as you move along. I'm thinking so.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But let me hear what maybe Mauli is also thinking. But you are free to come back. As we discuss this, maybe there's some better understanding that you can gain that can prompt you to come back and share something. And that can also build up your thinking, because that's how we build our thinking and critical analysis.
What about
Pigbin, sorry, could you just scroll up a little bit to where I started reading, please? Yeah, thanks. Sorry, Marlene.
No, I was just saying, what about Ross and Durkin?
I want to move to them. And I want to go to the King Mauli. The King, if you can hear me. Or Ras Pala.
Yes, people general said. Can you just pass a bit? I have something to say, but I want to hear something before I say anything.
You're not audible enough.
Can you be a bit clearer?
Yeah, we're not hearing you, brother. We're not hearing you very well. Speak up, man.
I'm very sorry. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, better.
Carry on.
Yes, family. Yeah, from what I hear so far from everyone, even from reading here, I can say that more especially what we are reading in regards to this philosophy, just as Father Pigpin has said, and the other brother and the mother who just spoke, that if you can look at it, I'll make it an example. Let's say here is Africa, you see. As
Can you put your your mouth nearer to the mic? That is a bit clearer, please.
Yeah, brother, your voice is very muffled. It's very muffled.
Yeah, I just had some marijuana, maybe.
That's better. That's better. Yeah, that's better.
You've just had some marijuana.
Yeah,
some
man.
marijuana now. Yeah,
That's ganja farmer.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, man. Okay. I was saying, ne, based on what all three of you great folks have just spoke about when I just came, is that for an example, make just an example. You have Africa, and then here in Africa, obviously after the Berlin Conference, as we all know, they divided Africa into 54 countries, colonies, whatever you want to call it. And then now, after that Berlin Conference, the division of the 54 countries, then they put presidents in these 54 colonies, you see. So now let's say we of this generation now we are the chosen ones, or the African revolutionaries, or the black elites, whatever you want to categorize us. So now we want to back what was rightfully for Africa and its African descendants. So sorry. So now again in that process, you want pan-Africanism, which is the total liberation of Africa. So if you can put it in the context of here in this philosophy context now, in terms of reality from other things, we can talk about and say, let's free Ghana and them and Kenya and all these countries. But the reality of the matter is that Morocco, Algeria, Libya, Sudan, and Egypt are not black owned. Those countries are owned by Arabs, you see. But we, most of the times when we say Africa, we include these colonies subconsciously, you see, when we know that these colonies have been colonized by the Arabs. And even when you have conversation, I think there's this book I read from the books that Pigpin gives us there in the group. He talks about that president of Morocco during that time of Kwame Nkrumah and Sekou Touré of Guinea, when Kwame Nkrumah was ousted by the CIA from Ghana and he was deputy president in Guinea with Sekou Touré. There was this meeting, I'll just be brief. There was this meeting whereby obviously this Pan-African meeting, I think it was the fifth or the fifth Pan-Africanist conference, you see, Congress. And now the problem was that the other Pan-Africanists, they became sort of conversionists, or people who are conservatives, like put it that way. And then some of them became what we know revolutionaries. And so now there was this Monrovia bloc and this Casablanca bloc in this division of Africa. So my example, against when I close, my example is that what I'm getting in this philosophy, the term is that the primary it says most here, it prepares itself for the accommodation of hard facts by asserting not the crude, the sole reality of the matter, but its primary reality. So from my understanding is that the primary reality of what's happening in Africa is that not all the African countries belong to the African people. And so that is the reality we are having. In as much as we say that Africa is Africans, but for now we have countries that are not African at all. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Yes, indeed. There's two issues here that are very I'm feeling. There has been aspect of categorial conversion. And you see, to my thinking, the philosophy is trying to understand the universe. As you see, the first chapter, we are trying to do the philosophy in respect. We go back to understand the universe. How did the universe come to be? Then the concept here is categorial conversion, which means the transformation of one fundamental category. Let's say, for example, the transformation of matter into another category like consciousness or even energy. The transformation of quantity into quality. You see, the transformation of consciousness into self-consciousness. That's the categorical conversion, how such move. Now, this poses a significant challenge as it questions the very reality of matter. So there are two aspects here. There's sole reality and primary reality. So of course, the idea of matter as the sole reality is very hard to explain the categorical conversion. It means matter is the only existing thing. But here, when you talk of, however, that the matter becomes a primary reality, it means it is not the only reality, but is the primary reality. By acknowledging this primary reality of matter, we're recognizing its potential for transformation. Then philosophy opens itself to the possibility of accommodating diverse categories within the framework. And this nouns approach avoid the pitfall of crude materialism that's being discussed here, and it paves way for more comprehensive understanding of the world. So matter is not the only material in the universe, but to this context, matter is the primary material. So the spirits and ideas become secondary materials or aspects of matter. Well, as Brother Cocker said before, that those who totally believe that the universe is purely only made up of matter, but those also who believe that the universe is purely made of spirit. But according to this thinking that's coming in here, it's understanding that the universe is not only made of matter. Yes, there are spirits and ideas. We pour libations in blessings of our ancestors and the rest. We seek sometimes their guidance, which is more of like spiritual thinking or ideas. We believe that by pouring libations, we actually get blessings or acceptance from our ancestors. It's more of spiritual. But to this aspect, that the matter is the primary reality. Then the ideas or spirits become part of this matter. But in other aspects, as we saw before, the idealists who believe that there's nothing like matter existing, like those who think in their ideas, that they can only conceive of them being without their physical bodies. So how can you think of that? How can you say that you are only made up of mind without the physical bodies? While we, or those who are materialists, believe that mind or ideas are part of the body. And it's not that the body is part of mind. The body is not a perception. The body is a reality. But mind is part of that body. And that's where the difference is coming here on the soul reality and the primary reality of matter. So by this materialism opening up the aspect that matter becomes a primary reality, then it opens ways for us to discuss other things that come in. Because you see, for example, in the African context, if we believe that the spiritual or ideas do not exist, then how do we handle the experiences of the past? How do we actually seek guidance or blessings from our ancestors as we push the struggle? But if we believe that the key important thing is our material well-being, then the spiritual push or spiritual nourishment or connecting the tradition or spirituality become only a secondary matter to our primary welfare. But when you convert it other way around, we seek too much of spiritual nourishment at the extent we forgo about our material well-being. And we think that our material well-being is only stored in heaven where the moth cannot reach it. So we don't care about what do you eat, where do you live, how the government is run, the resources stolen. You don't care about that. You only care about how you go to heaven and work on the heavenly bodies. And that's why Nkrumah never said, and Nkrumah proposed back there that a state must be secular. You should not focus too much on religion or anything else. It should be secular. And the majority thing is it must work on the welfare and the well-being of the people. That's what I'm trying to think. But if you might have come up with some other thinking, along my explanation, you are free to come in again. Anybody?
No, that sounds good enough to me. Shall we? Yeah. So, summarize it. You would say that yeah. To summarize it, you would say that Nkrumah can you summarize it for me, please?
Yep. Basically, what I was arriving at is that Nkrumah is saying that matter is not a sole reality of existence, rather is a primary reality of existence. So when we keep our struggles or push our struggles, our material well-being must be the primary concern to our welfare, which means our healthcare, our well-being, our resources, our governance, and everything else must be our primary struggle.
Yeah.
While our secondary struggles are other things like spirituality and other things are not actually sidelined, but must come in as a secondary
Right. Yeah.
idea
Perfect.
to our struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
And not the
yeah.
other, not the other way around, where
Yeah.
we pursue the spiritual nourishment or spirituality at the expense of our material well-being. And
Yeah.
you've seen
Well,
this in Africa.
and that's exactly what has happened. We have
Yeah.
let Christianity taken over from dealing with our material, you know, our natural resources, put it that way.
Yeah, it's Islam as well. It's not just Christianity. It's religion. Full stop.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
whole
yeah,
religion.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
It's
I'm
religion
saying.
Because you
that has
see,
caused.
Yeah, that's what I'm
for
saying.
example,
So that has taken
somebody will
over.
sell their land,
Yeah. Sorry?
somebody will sell their vehicle, somebody will sell their property to go give tithe.
Yeah.
Somebody will go
exactly.
and
That's
take
right.
their
Yeah,
old
yeah. I'm
pray
getting
from
it.
morning to
Yeah,
night.
it's a good explanation. So
Yeah, you did
yeah,
explain that well. Yeah.
once you summarized it, it makes sense, definitely, because yeah, because when you look at it, a lot of people are, well, in the past, because we were brainwashed to believe that all our riches is in heaven, and
Yep.
a lot of people went along with it, and it worked really well, where we should be concentrating on developing ourselves. Yeah. And
Correct.
Nkrumah, he saw it way ahead, and that's why he was stopped from developing it.
Yep.
Hey, Mr. P, do you have anything else to add on this as we move to the next paragraphs?
No, that's great. I'm very much in line with that explanation. There's nothing really to add apart from what you know, Marlene said. You know, religion is the bane of our existence. It is the thorn in our side that keeps us from doing what we're meant to be doing. It's detracting us from what we should be focusing on. Instead, we're too busy remembering, oh, if I'm Islam, it's 5 times a day I've got to pray, or I've got to run to the church and go and help the pastor, or go and give the pastor tithes or whatever. Yeah. Instead of looking at what we have, the matter, looking at the resources that we have, looking at, you know, considering the sunlight, that is a resource. Our rivers and our seas, they are resources. Our land is a resource. Yeah, all these things, you know, we're hungry, but no one's planting food. No one is farming, but we're hungry. That doesn't make sense. You have fertile land. Anything can grow in Africa. Anything can grow in Africa. But you're hungry? To me, that makes no sense. It makes no sense at all.
As as it is also witnessed, it must be clear that conscious or the consciousism do not actually object spirituality, but rather view spirituality as a secondary objective, not a primary objective.
Correct.
The primary objective is the welfare and the well-being of the people, their
Correct.
material well-being, which means how you get food, how you feed yourself, how you clothe yourself, how you use your resources for your development. And that is where the primary concern comes in. Now, the secondary concern of spirituality is personal, but it should not be your primary objective. You see, like idealists, they believe too much on spiritualities and ideas.
Yeah.
You see, to an extent that they don't think that the material well-being, even the body made up of matter, they don't conceive it, which means to some extent, if they even happen to be rich people who are idealists, they don't care about the welfare of other people. And to them, such status of other people, to them is like just a perception. They don't believe it's a reality. They don't take it like a reality that people are suffering, the reality people are sleeping hungry in Africa or anywhere else, that it's a reality that people cannot afford meal. To them, they wonder how that really exists. And they don't think about helping the people. But in majority of also the poor people, those who actually physical or materialistic have not been able to use the material well-being to advance their welfare, they also don't think about their well-being. They think about that the only solution to change their welfare is if they give to God and pray to God for help and intervention.
Yeah, keep praying. We're not praying hard enough. We need to pray harder. Yeah.
That is the problem.
Yeah.
And this is where our people must get out. You see, even in the context of the Bible, I think they have said somewhere that God bless only those who work. So you cannot be blessed without work. Even our ancestors will prepare the land, then go seek the intervention of the ancestors to bless or help with the rain, but they already prepared the land. Today,
Pigbean, sorry, are you back in reading? Because I took a call and I missed.
No,
no.
You're not back to the reading.
It's all right. It's okay.
I'm trying to extend it.
Conversation. Okay, sorry, because I missed it. Yeah. All right, sorry.
No, I'm trying to contextualize it to our current state of welfare.
Situation, yeah. Okay.
For example, say in Nigeria, there's this pastor called Pastor Oyedepo. He's the richest man, I think, in Nigeria. But he's rich with what? With the material and the resources of the people.
Yeah, poor people's money.
People who
he's rich with their money. Yeah.
Yeah, people who give do not become rich.
Of course.
Instead of using their little resources they have to advance their welfare, they use the little resources to advance the welfare of somebody else.
Yeah.
And this is where people must get out of. So we are not opposed to that, but we want them to change their consciousness, their thinking, and think of how they can use the little resources they have to advance their welfare. Then they put spirituality as a secondary need.
Pigbean, can I say something? Oh, I'll wait till you finish. Sorry.
Just finish.
Yeah, what I was going to say, that was the system that was bought because religion was pumped down Black people's throat and they took away our spirituality. And then the other thing they did, they stopped people, even in the Caribbean, growing their own food. Someone told me that they remember when the milk in Jamaica was getting thrown away because they told them they could bring cheaper milk from America into the country, and it made everybody, you know, just put down tool, and we're going to get all these cheap things come to us. So it's a system that has created this problem. Even in Africa, they've said they don't want no more AIDS, all the old clothes. They're going to start making their clothes. And a certain country was told if they don't take it, sanction would be put on them.
Yeah.
So the system that has created our problem, and when we try to change it, it becomes difficult because there are those that say they're going to put sanction, we're not allowed to do it. So the ones then that haven't got the right mindset, they say, well, if the system is supporting me, I will get what I can. And that is why we're constantly like this revolving door going around with the thing. And like you said, Nkrumah, how many years ago saw it and he was deposed because of it. So there's a lot more to it than that, you know, and the people, as you said, the elites need to come in line and don't carry on the system. And it is changing, but very minutely. Sorry,
Yeah.
you can carry on.
Yeah, before I move to other members and we read the next part of this, check even the analysis. The whites, or those who colonize us, let me not call them whites, were seriously after the material possession. When they brought in the spiritual angle, what they call their religion, they took our land. As Ngugi records it, that they gave us the Bible, told us to close our eyes, and when you open our eyes, the land was gone. When we were taken out of Africa to go work in the farms, it was to produce for them their material welfare. We worked to produce for them food that they could eat and build their industries. We never worked to bless them, or we never preached for them. We were working to give them the material possession. But them, what they did to us, they preached to us. And they made us preachers instead of workers to work for our own resources.
Yeah.
And that's why Nkrumah realized that there's a need for shift of mentality.
Correct.
So that we know that those who brought religion are not even after spirituality, are after our resources. And the more we continue to push their religion at the expense of our material well-being, they will continue possessing our material as we keep on pushing their gospel. And we must wake up to that reality. And that's the level of consciousness we must attain. Thank you. Anybody who has any contribution, then we move to the
I
next
agree,
paragraph.
brother. I agree. I agree. We're still asleep. We can't see the bigger picture. We cannot see. We're not cognizant of what is going on. We just don't see it. So because we can't see
Mauli?
it, we don't learn.
Yes. Brother Mauli, are you able to contribute something? Or Pala, before we move to reading the two paragraphs that are ahead?
Yes, my brother. No, I just want to agree on what you said so far. It makes sense, much more sense, because like what you said, my brother, with this thing of primary reality of the matter and the soul reality of it. It does make a lot of sense, because matter can't be the sole reality. Even our African ancestors overstood that. You can see Egypt, the civilization of Egypt. You can see how our governments were. We have different branches of government to prove that. You have minister of what, you have the minister of what. You have those who are busy with water, those who are busy with the people's mind. They are called psychologists. They are called psychiatrists. You know, things of psychology and psychiatrists are not things you can see with the naked eye, you see, but it's something that is there. So all these different branches, these government systems and these clinics, whatever health systems we Africans introduced in the Egyptian era, even the Sumerian eras, prove what you are saying, my brother, that matter is not the soul, but it's part of, it has many parts in it. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you for that. I think Mauli is not able to contribute, but I request if we can be now.
My brother.
Clearly. Yes, Mauli.
Yes, honestly, yeah, I am a bit distracted because of the situation I find myself in. And I may even have a certain, like, maybe change the topic of the whole situation that I'm actually finding myself in. But you are aware of the situation I find myself in. And so, you see, growing up as a youth or a young boy, a teenager, as at that time, we were told that, you know, there are some energies, and there are some stuff that can alter one's destiny in a certain direction. Now, how do we equate materialism into this aspect of, you know, influence? Some say it is a bend on time. Some said it is a bend on the wave of the mind. All this idealist kind of reasoning, how does it come in connection with materialism?
That's a very tough question. But as we have read before, that idealism does not take into consideration science. They don't even value science. But materialism take into consideration both empiricism and rationalism. Some is actually learning out of experience and also making rational decisions or being rational enough, you see. So sometimes in order to pursue our material well-being, we must base our decision on science, guided by either the experience, but also on rationalities. So these are parts that actually sometimes the idealists tend to ignore, the scientific analysis. And that's why there's somewhere where they say the analysis. Yeah, I don't know if there's somewhere where they talked of analysis, conceptual analysis. And if you check the aspect of conceptual analysis, the philosophy tackles the challenges of categorical conversion through conceptual analysis, which is embodied in logics, utilizing tools like the tools that help you break down complex concepts into their constituent parts, allowing you to closely examine their relationship and potential transformation. Maybe you are feeling, your experience, what you go through today, what Africa go through today. How can it clearly break it down and understand the relationships and their potential transformation? How can they be? For example, if Africa has been misused or exploited for this period of time, how can we take that analysis in order for us to
Yeah,
predict the
I
next?
always equate Africa's situation to our women who have been exploited, you know, for many a century. Is that a good connection as well too?
It's not only women who have been exploited. I think if you read the book of Gaddafi, the Green Book, of course, it says that despite of all African beings, be it a woman or a man, is exploited wherever they are. Whether you are in out Africa or you're within the Africa, sad thing that Brother Kwame said, that even in Africa, Africans, both men and women, still are like second class in their continent. But Gaddafi says that apart from a woman experiencing the normal, actually the normal exploitation or the normal suffering that every other person go through as a black person, they also undergo the house suffering, which means even the wife of a boss is still like a slave within the boss house, despite of them being exploited in the streets. They still are like a maid in the house boss. He gave some positions that sometimes is controversial, that the difference of even a woman in the street sometimes selling her body and a woman in the house selling, is like selling her body for personal gain from a man, is just the space and time. But in reality, all of them go extra exploitation, where every human being or every black person who is exploited still go back like a man to still exploit the wife. And this is the problem, because we don't see ourselves as both blacks who are struggling for survival, but we also bring the gender issue. So we are exploited by the colonial systems, but even in their house, a man will want to exploit another woman in the same house. And they'll find it cool to do that, but they'll find it hard to be exploited as a human being. So all of us must either wake up to the consciousness that we are all exploited. And therefore, the best we can do is not to continue exploiting ourselves, but rather to help ourselves get out of where we are. That's why if you see your brother in Cameroon or a brother in UK, as long as a black man, support him. Don't care where they come from. Can you work together to liberate yourself? Because the system is working against all of you. And that's my position. I don't know if that's okay.
Well
Mauli?
said. Well said. Can we go to the next chapter now? I
Yes,
think
we can.
we've
And I'll ask
exhausted this one.
brother Mr. P, if he's able
Yeah,
to read for us.
he's a good reader. He's a good
Read for
reader.
us the paragraph, first paragraph and the second paragraph. Connect them, then we discuss them extensively. Just connect them.
Okay, so we're starting at problems, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the compliment, Marlene.
Honestly, because when I read, I say all kind of words that's not even there sometimes.
Right, okay, no
I
problem.
prefer to read to myself.
No problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Problems of categorical conversion have haunted philosophy at least since early Greek times. The Greek monists, beginning as far as we know with Thales, were all confronted with such problems. Thinking that opposites were irreducible to each other, Thales's successor, Anaximander, postulated a neural monoism in his boundless and amorphous, undifferentiated, undetermined source, capable of begetting opposite properties, the womb of the differentiated world. It seems to me, however, that neural monism is merely crypto-dualism or crypto-pluralism. For even if they are only in a stifled state, all the elements of dualist and pluralist positions swim in neutral monism. Today, however, philosophy has little need to resort to crypticisms. Speaking in general terms, I may say that philosophy has fashioned two branches of study which enable it to solve the problem of categorical conversion in a satisfying way. These tools are logic and science, both of which owe their origin and early development to the demands of philosophy. The conceptual tools which philosophy has fashioned in logic, and by means of which it can cope with the formal problems of categorical conversion, are contained in nominalism, constructionism, and reductionism. For philosophy's model of categorical conversion, it turns to science. Matter and energy are two distinct, but, as science has shown, not unconnected or irreducible categories. The inter-reducibility of matter and energy offers a model for categorical conversion, and another model is given in the distinction between physical change and chemical change. For in chemical change, physical quantities give rise to emergent qualities.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another very packed paragraph.
Yeah.
But we need to see how we unpack it by trying, first of all, to understand meaning of some tough words around.
Exactly. Yep. It sounds very scientific.
Yeah, there's some words there I've never even come across myself.
But you
So let's see
them.
if we can get their meaning first, then you can be able to build a proper
Understanding
thinking or critical analysis.
Yes.
So like the word, you have the word here called monism.
Yeah, monism. I don't even, it's the first time I've seen that word.
Let's check what it means.
Mm-hmm.
So they say the term monism
I think it's something
And-
to do with being singular.
Yeah,
Mono.
mono. And dualism, I used to describe two different theories of relationship between, of course, sometimes used in domestic laws. So monism is being singular,
Yeah,
while dualism is being two or more than one.
correct.
Yes. So
And
that's the difference.
pluralism's more than one, but dualism is two.
Yes. Then there's another aspect here. Which another word? Crypto pluralism or crypto dualism.
Yeah.
Let's also try to understand it.
What's Thales?
Thales. It's a name. Thales.
No, Thales.
He's a Greek.
We've come across him.
He's a Greek man.
Beginning of this book.
A Greek man.
Thales were all confronted with such problem. Oh, that's the name.
Yeah, it's his name. Yeah, he's a man. Yeah, it's a man.
The Greek monists beginning as far back as we know with Thales, we're all confronted with such what problems?
Yeah.
Thinking that opposite were irreducible to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Irreducible to each other. What's irreducible?
To reduce something means to make it smaller. If it's irreducible, you're not able to reduce it. You can't make it smaller.
So it says we're irreducible to each other. Thales' successor,
Anaximander.
Yeah. Postulate a neutral
monism.
Monism in this boundless and
amorphous.
Oh Jesus!
And I know, it's a whole heap of words, man. An amorphous, undifferentiated, undetermined source,
capable of beginning opposite properties.
Begetting
opposite properties. The womb of the differentiate world.
Yeah.
So something is going on there. There is some sort of struggles between a system or a situation. Is that correct? Pigman?
Yeah.
What is going on?
You may be right.
Yeah.
Because Thales, I think, is a materialist philosopher who believe that the universe is made up of matter.
You think that what is made up of matter?
No, he thinks that the universe is made of matter.
Because Berkeley is the other side who thinks that the universe is made up of spirit.
Yeah.
Which one think it's spirit?
Berkeley. We've come across him.
And Thales is dealing with materialism.
Yes.
You need to pass your O level when you finish this sentence.
O level, A level, you mean? How you mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
This is some heavy reading, man.
Okay. Let me try to do some analysis a bit. The key question here is the categorial conversion. And we've said before that the categorial conversion is the transformation of one fundamental category, e.g. matter, into consciousness. Like the conversion between energy to matter, quality to quantity, consciousness to self-consciousness. Now, that conversion is what many people or these philosophers have been questioning. So, to my understanding here is that the question of categorical conversion has been a philosophical concern for so long. Of course, as we've said, Thales and Anaximander have grappled with the problem of reconciling the opposing concepts within a single source. So these are the, you see, like even in energy, or even in, we have both the positive side and the negative side. You really see that. In the same thing, we have the negative and positive, either the terminals in the same component. Now you see, Anaximander's boundless served as a neutral monist concept, a potential source of all opposite. However, this approach is actually risking falling into the trap of crypto-dualism, as they're trying to bring it here. That boundless and amorphous, undifferentiated, and undetermined source is capable of leading to that crypto-dualism, where opposing elements remain inherent in their own supposedly unified state. Give the context. In Africa today, check it. How is it possible that in the group of all those who are exploited, there are still different opposing sides within the same oppressed people? Where some think that those who exploited us are not the problem. Others think that they're the problem. Even in a normal state, there are people who think that the government that exploit the resources is right, or there are people who think that that government is wrong. So that idea of two opposing sides within the same people, the same concept existing, is the biggest problem here. And it's the biggest concept that's coming out here. So how is it possible that even with differences in their thinking, they still coexist? And how is it possible that people who have been exploited can see exploitation in two different ways? Some sees not as exploitation, some sees as exploitation. So this is what I'm trying to find here on how these elements can tend to still remain in a united state, like in a united condition. For example, in energy, there are movements of kinetic forces up and down, but it doesn't break. Even in matter, where anything that occupies space, the wind will be moving. Either the wind that will be blowing high or blowing low, but we'll never hear that there's any problem within. Even in a family, this is where a wife and a husband will be taking two opposite sides, but still exist in the same place. So how that existence come to being is what brings the key concept that I'm trying to understand from that first paragraph. And as I put it in our normal concept as Africa, is how some of us think that idealism is what we should pursue for actual liberation of Africa, while others really think that our material well-being should be the primary source of what we should pursue. But there are people who think that matter is the sole reality of matter, reality of existence, while others take total radical position also that there's nothing like matter, there's only the spirit that should, or spiritual or idealism should be our primary reality of matter. Now the question is, how do these things or these two tend to coexist, and how can that be converted into one side of thinking so that they can actually move to one direction? And that's where we are as Africa, until we might manage to unite these opposing sides so that we can see our problem from the same angle, we might continue struggling internally instead of struggling with an external force that is oppressing us. That's how I'm trying to understand this paragraph. But somebody can also build up. You can come in.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, actually. I'm understanding what I'm hearing here, because you do have this dualism. You do have our people on both sides of the camp. And you know, what you're saying here is actually making it clearer in that we, and I've said this many times, we are actually our worst problem, because we cannot see and we cannot hear, therefore we do not learn. So once we have a clear, not a clouded, a clear understanding of what's actually happened and what's gone on with us as a people, which is what I was saying much earlier on. Once we recognize the problem, we're then able to fix it. But if you don't know what the problem is, you're not going to be able to fix it. And the reason why I spoke about clouded is religion clouds your thinking. Yeah, it clouds your thinking to the point that you tend to revert to your religion at the end of the day, because you either don't understand, or you can't see, or you can't hear. So then you'll say, this must be some spirit thing. This must be the person has put juju on me, blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm not saying that spirits are not there. Spirits are there, right? But what I'm saying is that if we looked at things in a materialistic way, more scientifically, which is easier, or which is, sorry, not necessarily easier, but which is better to understand and work with, then we can get things done. You know, the mobile phones that we're talking on now were created from a man's mind. Somebody thought up the idea of a mobile phone. Somebody thought up the idea of, you know, these office blocks and these buildings. Somebody thought up the idea of urbanization, you know, building roads, having drainage and sewerage, and having electricity lines and stuff like that. Yeah, this is all materialism, but it all started in somebody's mind. That's where it was all created. So what we need to focus on is not kneeling down and praying and say, God, we need this, God, we need that. I don't believe in that. Now, when I say that, it doesn't mean that I don't believe in God. I do believe in God. I do pray every day. But when you look, you will see that we have what we need. We have everything we need. We're just not cognizant of that. We're not aware of that. We are too quick to run to somebody with a begging bowl, thinking we are not capable, thinking that whatever task is ahead of us is impossible. No, we are capable. And not only are we capable, we have resources. So the whole thing is about mindset. The whole thing is a shift in mindset. Yeah. And religion needs to be put where it needs to go. And that is not in our way, because it is blocking us from developing and progressing. That's how I see it.
Yeah, Pigman, can I say something? Hello.
Can you proceed, Marin?
Okay. The next paragraph I was coming to says, I may say that philosophy has fashioned two branches of study which enable it to solve the problem of categorical conversation in a satisfying way. These tools are logic and science, both of which owe their origin and early development to the demands of philosophy. The conceptual tool which philosophy has fashioned is logic, and by means of which it can cope with the formal problems of categorical conversation are contained in anomalous constructionism and reductionism. For philosophy model of categorical conversation, it turns the science, matter, and energy are two distinct, but as science has shown, not unconnected or irreducible categories. Right, so there is two ways of dealing with things, and
Oh, sorry, Marlene. I need to take this call. I'll be back in a minute. Yeah.
no problem. Hello, Pigbin?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So what it's trying to say, you know, we've got to use a kind of a philosophy in trying to deal with our issues that we find ourselves in.
Yes, it's true. And that's why, to this extent, it talks of two aspects that philosophy introduced. It introduced logics and science,
Yeah,
which basically had formed the first part of our conversation on rationalism and empiricism.
that's right.
We must be scientific enough in order to understand and analyze our problem.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, idealism do not have space for science. And that's why the materialist must be scientific enough in analysis of what you go through. And we must also be actually logical enough. If you read on the logical aspect, you see the logic provides the tool for discerning concepts, which, as you said, they are normalism, constructionism, and reductionism, which offer a conceptual toolkit for understanding how seemingly different distinct categories might be related. How seemingly energy can be related to matter, how quality can be related to quantity, how your consciousness can be related to self-consciousness, you see, how your awareness of environment can be related to your personal awareness, you see. And with that, these tools allow us to break down those complex concepts in their building block and revealing the potential pathways for transformation. Because if we are not able to understand the correlations between the sufferings of our people and the success of our people, or the correlation between what Africa go through in relation to the exploitation it goes through, we cannot be able to move along. So until we understand how these two are related, and that's where we can do the understanding either through logics or through scientific analysis of our problem. For example, if you can take, for example, you say that maybe a country like Niger is poor. You go down to try to analyze that Niger is having uranium. Then where do the uranium go to? It goes to France.
That's
So can you
right.
relate the poverty of Niger with the external exploitation of Niger? As you see in that book, how Europe underdeveloped Africa. So if we are not able to go deep to try to analyze and give the correlations between these two, then we cannot be able to find a possible solution out. And that's why philosophy brings the aspects of both that logical analysis and scientific analysis, so that with the two tools we can be able to understand the correlations between our suffering as a people of Africa and their development out there, the correlation between how we are the spiritual exploitation of Africa vis-a-vis the material exploitation of Africa, you see. And that's what is trying to come out here. And you see, it comes to the question that now, with the modern philosophy, which is not the traditional philosophy, is actually armed with those conceptual tools and insights from science. And it can offer a nouns and satisfying solution. By employing those conceptual analysis and drawing on scientific model, we can not only demonstrate the possibility of categorical conversion, but also provide concrete example on how it might occur in the real world. It opens the door for more comprehensive understanding of our complex and ever-changing the universe. As you try to see it, you see. So how, if you don't leave the philosophy writing here, if you take it to your current context, how can you actually put clear analysis and relation between what you go through as an individual vis-a-vis either the spiritual, if it's you as an individual, between the struggle if you are maybe religious, the struggle between your religious nourishment and your personal well-being and your personal wealth accommodation. If you are a continent like Africa, the struggle between how the Africa is underdeveloped vis-a-vis the success and their relationship between the West. Can we go to analyze how are we related with the West, and has that really resulted to our underdevelopment or our exploitation? So I think that's what this program is trying to tell us, that with the two tools, which more of goes back to rationalism and empiricism, which is logics and science, we can actually analyze this. But if you base it on the spirits and ideas alone, we can only take blame to God, that we are here because God is angry with us. We either pray and seek forgiveness and we will be helped. And that might not work out. So that's what I'm trying to understand with this. But anybody is also free to chip in.
Where is the is Russ? Russ, are you gonna say anything?
No, Mama Africa, you can carry on, Mama. I'm still listening.
Or you're just listening? What about Dakin? Dakin? Mawali? Mawali?
The King, we are about to come to an end because we have 14 minutes to end of our class. So kindly feel free to share something. Same to Raspala. Listening is almost over. We are coming to an end. So kindly share something as a conclusion.
I'm here actually. You know.
Yeah, can you share something?
Yeah, for me, I have actually heard the recommendation. However, I was in high school when I read Conscientism. So as at that time, I was actually godfathered by one of the man who actually was Nkrumah's bodyguard. So in a beast and quest to build me to understand why he gets angry when he read a newspaper and he doesn't tally the truth, why he actually acts emotionally. So he actually gave me a lot of knowledge in terms of just myself. It's just keep me up, man. This is completely my phone, no battery, man. This guy's
The King, are you done? The King? Okay. Raspala?
I'm not sure what Dakin was saying when he said he followed, he learned something from Nkrumah bodyguard, or he was at college with him or something. I'm not sure what he was trying to tell us. Dakin, is he gone?
But from Ghana, so probably might have had a relationship with the bodyguard of Nkrumah, and probably, as he said, is the one who exposed him to this book, Consciousness.
Oh,
but at that time, he was maybe not conscious enough to understand the concepts.
Right, I see.
Yeah. Raspala, do you have something to say?
No, my brother, nothing much, my king.
Is Mr. P back? Because if he isn't, we'll leave the next paragraph till next week.
No, we are not reading another paragraph. This will be coming to our end of our class because we are 11 minutes to our time. We only need to have a wrap to actually summarize and connect whatever we've read today in regards to our African setup and our understanding or our struggles we go through as a continent. Because we've tried to break down some tough words but maybe try to put in a simpler
Yes, some
context.
words we never heard before. What I would say is, oh dear, how can I summarize it now? Matter is what some of us think that will believe, I should say, that will solve the problem in Africa, and is trying to use it, and the mass is using spirituality, and they both plays a part, but in a different way, and what else can I add to it? And we've got to just use it in the right context to understand how we can get out of our difficulties. Use one or the, well, I was going to say use one or the other, but materialism is maybe what's damaging. They're both damaging in their own way, because matter is a form of materialism, am I right? And spirit is going along with Christianity, which has not helped us to see things, because we're thinking that the next world will be okay, and then we're losing all our raw material because we're allowing others to come and take it away from us. Yeah, that's what I've got to add.
Thank you, Ringo, for that. I don't know if this is a person, and if it's not in, we go to Raspara. What's your summary word out of this reading for today? What would you like to say in summary?
Yes, my Lord, give thanks. No, in summary, my Lord, it's just as you exclaimed, my brother, and you see, is that this more special, especially in the context of what we are reading. They may call it Greek philosophies, but we know the Greeks learned here in Egypt from our African ancestors. So I'm sure our African ancestors already solved this issue, because as we are talking about it now, you can see, well, okay, that's how we get the principles which build up and make up Pan-Africanism and how we govern. You see, we can even see examples from Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso now, how well they are building up the African people in governance, administrations, all these things. They require a really sophisticated but well centralized and organized approach. So in that, my brother, for me it makes a lot of sense to say that really the first objective must be the material side of life, and then the second objective is the spiritual or the ideological or the whatever side which is not matter. Because for real, in my closing, for what's happening, even here in the Rastafari movement here, most of the problems that we have are based on the matter side. You see, we have a lot of things we do. We sing, we pray, we make fire, whatever things we can think about in the African cultures and traditions. We do. But when someone gets sick, you understand, Then now we start to think about the hospitals of the white man, whereas we could have our own health institute, you see, whereby when a person is sick, is admitted there. But yeah, something that will may obviously be sorted out in the future. So those are the things that I picked up in this discussion, trying to understand how the frustration of Kwame Nkrumah, not to say in a bad way, but how he really felt as he looked around what's happening in Africa in relations to our social and economic issues. That's it, my lord.
I give thanks, comrade, and thank you for that. Indeed, was a very good input. I don't know, Mr. P, for the last time, are you able to speak? If you're not yet back, permit me to proceed. Indeed, as you say, Comrade Raspala, that as much as we pursue the spiritual well-being, and realize that when somebody falls sick, you don't have the resources to help the person. Sometimes there's a need to balance the unity of you coming together during your praise and worship to actually either combine your heads together in your marriage you farm, have a common marriage you farm, build something that can actually give resources that can then cater for your material well-being, then spend some little time to give the praises and thanks to Most High. And then what I want to go to is that consciousness, as Brother Kwame sometimes said it, is not the radical materialist position, which actually says that there's nothing like spirits, there's nothing like spirituality, the atheists and the rest who don't believe in anything like that. That is not consciousness. Consciousness states that they accept and acknowledge the existence of spirituality and spirit, but they consider the material well-being of an individual as the primary reality, as a primary struggle that must be struggled for. But that do not mean that we object or oppose those who pursue spiritual being, and doesn't mean that we either discourage people from working on their spiritualities. Even African spirituality is part of spirituality you can work on. You must either, if you go to meditate, reconnect with your ancestors for guidance, or a God or anybody else, you must actually do that. But the primary thing you must fight for is first think of how you can eat, how you can clothe, how you can educate your key people, how you can use your resources for material, for your personal existence. Because if you don't eat and fast, you'll die. Something happened in Kenya here, where people went to the forest through a certain pastor, and they fasted there, and they were killed. They died in fasting. It was claimed that these people went to the forest to fast to see Jesus. Then they died. The body is exhumed. So far is around over 600 people who died in that forest. But the reality is coming out that these people might have been assassinated by the state. But that aside, now, if we move it to the continental level, yes, we Africans were spiritual, not that we were not. But at this particular moment, the religion that has been given more force to us today in a village, there are more churches than hospitals. There are more churches than schools. So our people are not thinking of building more schools or more hospitals to take care of their people, but they're thinking of how they can open them more churches to preach for the people spiritual nourishment instead of fighting for actually the welfare of the people. And this is the position materialists take. We are not in love of material possession, but the material welfare and well-being of an individual is very primary, so that a person can be fit. To our government, we must demand the same, that the government must actually take first priority to the welfare of the people, material welfare of the people, have them food, roads, good hospitals, and everything else. As a continent, we must pursue to ensure that we safeguard our resources and protect them so that we can use our natural resources existing and abundant in Africa to elevate our poverty status and our well-being as African. We cannot continue dying without hospital medicines, floods, hunger, drought, and so many things that kill Africans when we have resources we can use for our well-being. That is the key message. And therefore, the existence of two opposing sides within Africans seeing the problem must stop. We must try to bring each other to one point to see our problems from a common direction so that we can unite and actually have the monism thinking to fight for our welfare and our liberation, unification, and development of Africa. And that marks the end of our class today. Thank you all for attending this class. And let's meet next Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.